Jury trial.
5 o'clock, I'm calling to order this workshop of the City Council of the City of Bandera. We're at 511 Main Street on Tuesday, September 14th, 2021. All council members are present with the exception of Mayor Pro Tem Gibson. Our city administrator is present, our city secretary is present, our city treasurer is present, and the marshal is present. Item 2 is the workshop. Item A, discussion of the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget. Item 1, discussion of general fund and departmental expenditures. David, take it away.
All right, hello council.
Hello.
We're into our budget workshop, and I believe before I got here, y'all already went through some departments that made it all the way to the city secretary, is that correct?
Yeah, but some of the things we had talked about, I'm sorry.
Yes, Darcy.
Some of the things we had talked about haven't been changed, so is that usually not reflected until we're completely done? Or?
Until we're completely done and we, however, what particular ones are you talking about? Because I don't have my notes in front of me.
Well, I'll start with my first concern, if I may, that the stapled copy that we have right here was printed at 2:02 and today, and the last copy I got sent to our email was printed on 9/10 at 4:51. So are these the same?
I don't believe so. You'll have to look on page 25 to see if the revenue over expenditure is the same amount. Was it 9:10 at 4:51 p.m.? You want to?
Yes.
Jill. Oh,
Yeah, those numbers
down
are
here. I'm okay.
For the
Yeah,
record-
thank
You
you.
look like you need more room.
For the record, Rebecca arrived at 5:02.
Thank you.
Just wonder if everybody should have, right?
Yeah, they're just-
I didn't even see you.
Okay, so at the top left, it's 9/14/2021, it's 2:02 p.m. is the copy that we're going off of.
Yes, so he's telling me yes.
David, if I may, I think the only thing that was changed in there was when we made the changes for the master plan. I believe everything else is the same as it was prior to when it was sent out on Friday.
Okay,
Well,
the 30,000 from 130.
No, we haven't even gotten that far. That has not been changed in this one. When we covered the $226,000 that we have already spent, that change has been made. But the $130,000 has not been budgeted in here yet at all. So that's something we have to address.
Okay. So it pleases council, unless you have any further questions, I was going to start at the city secretary where y'all left out last time.
Darcy?
Can I ask that we take like a 15-minute recess, because this is about the 50th copy that we've had, and this is the one that we got, the very last one that we got today, sent to our email. And even though I was in court doing my regular job, which we're expected to have, it's still not the one that we're now going off of, so I'd like to have a little bit of time, at least 10 minutes, to look through this before we start just actually discussing stuff.
David, you have your hand up.
No, nobody from our office and any more additional.
The email where you
budgets.
said this is the last one, something like I promise.
Yeah.
Right, that was, right, that should be the same as this one.
Well, that's the one I printed out. And that's not this one.
Jerry?
can I request that, nobody's gonna like me for this one, I'd like to start from the beginning. And hopefully it'll be real quick, but I wanna make sure I have some questions that I don't think I addressed the first time.
Let's just start from the beginning.
And if we did, y'all can just slap me,
All right, in that case,
No
council,
slapping.
or,
let's, let's recess till 5:15 and give everybody a chance to catch up.
If we start from the beginning, will you be able to follow the two as we go, or no?
Yes.
Okay, And we don't need a recess. That's, if we start from the beginning, she can follow as we go. We
Is that
don't
what
need a
you wish to
recess.
do? Okay.
Right, yes, I understand that, but this one should be the same,
It's not.
right? Okay, all right.
So, Darcy, with that being said, we'll begin at the beginning and we'll work our way through.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, now reconvening at 5:05. Okay, page 1.
Okay, your turn, please. Okay.
Yes, Jerry.
I just wanted to point out, make sure I'm seeing numbers the right way too. We talked about this, I think, but sales tax is up, as we know, 66,349 above budget. That's great. And that's year to date. Just some thoughts that I had, how much of that was due to the freeze, and we can't come up with that, I'm sure. But
How much of it is what?
of that increase above budget in sales tax. It's due to the freeze, like, some of the businesses being much busier
Well,
because
you
of
just subtract 575 from 641, so it's a
Yeah.
$66,000 increase.
Right,
More than
which, and I'm
10%.
saying this is all positive stuff, but I'm just still being, I guess, cautiously optimistic,
Okay.
not knowing where those numbers came from, what the increase was due to.
So, yeah, sales tax is, I mean, you probably already know this, but I'm just gonna say for the record, sales tax is difficult to track down to even a month sometimes, because some people pay their taxes in by the year, some pay monthly, some pay annually, some are late and delinquent and don't come in until later.
Right.
So, it's difficult to even track to metrics and things down to a weekend or a month, so.
Yeah, and
accurately.
I'm sorry.
Jerry?
And that's why I felt, it's important to keep that in mind. We don't know what the increase is due to. Hopefully it's something that's gonna stick around. But, just some thoughts before we really get in deeper on it too. I've noticed, and I'm sure we all have, a lot of the businesses are having trouble with employees, staffing. They're cutting back on their business hours, at several locations. A couple of the big places have done that. So with these optimistic numbers, I think we still need to be cautious, to get too excited. I also noticed residential permits were up $4,000 year to date over budget, I believe, and that's a good thing. And I think that's it on the general fund. That is, on the revenue, for me.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions about the revenue?
Not on page 1.
Page 2. Yes, Darcy.
So on line 10/30/456 Park Pavilion Rental, we've been showing revenue. I'm just wondering why we're at a zero budget for this year.
Because we actually just didn't put anything in that, obviously. Council, you want to put some money in there? 300?
I was just wondering if we had a reason.
No, there's really not, that I know of.
And then the Riverfest income, I know Jerry brought it up the last time we talked about it. I think that should be zeroed out because it's not a guarantee. It wasn't in the city last time. I have no reason to believe that it'll be in the city this time. I mean, maybe it will, maybe it won't, but I don't think we should bet on the come. So I would say to zero that out. That's my 2 cents.
And which one was that? I'm sorry, I
On the
can't.
Riverfest income on 3462.
Okay.
And we'll put 500 back in for Pavilion Rental?
Mm-hmm.
Put 500 back in.
David.
Is that for the city to rent the pavilion, or what's that for? Like, the city has an event to rent?
No, citizens can rent not citizens, well, yeah, citizens. Folks can rent the pavilion for birthday parties or anniversary parties or that sort of thing. It's just another small revenue in the park, within the park.
And can I add, David, just so you know too, people can use it without renting it, but it's on a first come, first served basis. So if they want to guarantee that they'll have it for their event, then they would rent it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Moving on down, page 2, other questions?
Yeah,
Yes, Jerry.
the EDC city park renovations, anything that we were gonna, or are gonna request from EDC, those would be blank, right?
Well, that
Am I
would go
correct
in there,
there?
yes, but we haven't gotten money from EDC since 2019-20.
We haven't what, I'm
I
sorry?
haven't received anything from EDC for the parks since we did the softball field and the playground equipment. So I believe that, David, would you update council? I believe you're gonna get in contact with Jared and
Right, they
kind of
have a
get an
meeting,
idea.
I'm sorry, the EDC has a meeting this Thursday coming up, and I'm contacting Jared, in advance to see what they have in mind on what they plan to, donate or give to the city in regarding those projects that we requested.
So we were all pretty much in agreement that our meeting that was supposed to be last week, that's gonna come up this week, we have about 80,000 that we're going to give to the city to do with whatever you want for those projects. So it can be distributed however we, the council, decides we wanna distribute them on all of the projects that were listed. Whether it be master plan, whether it be master plan projects, whether it be the Texas Parks and Wildlife, whatever, but I mean, our numbers were pretty final, we didn't have a lot of controversy or anything, so it's just a matter of finalizing it Thursday and giving it to y'all, so.
Great, because that way we can plug these numbers in before we get them
It
out
was
on
80, right? Not
Friday.
85? I think it was 80.
And I already submitted a request to city, or to EDC for 25,000 for the Parks and Wildlife grant.
Yeah, we covered that in our budget workshop, cause we had the one with the council before and we had them all listed out on what was requested. And so,
Great.
yeah,
So it's a 25 separate from the 80.
And
it was 80 total,
80 total.
80 total for whatever, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, you're still on page 2, anything?
Excuse me.
Page 3, city council. Jerry,
So when will we request from EDC? I know what you just said, but,
well, they'll give us numbers, hopefully Friday morning, we can plug it in, but they still have to present, their budget does probably on the 28th to be approved.
I
But-
can't remember, did we actually request an agreement from EDC? Any
We
of
had
these
a
funds
joint
that we
workshop.
talked about?
We had a joint workshop,
Right.
and as a workshop, nothing can be set in stone.
Right.
So we put our thoughts out there, and now they're gonna work on it, come back to us with their answer.
Okay, I didn't know if we got like a consensus together.
No, that's
City
Y'all
council
put in your
wise.
requests, we had a workshop and we're
Okay.
finalizing it Thursday.
Good enough?
Okay? All right, city council?
I mean, we don't have to approve the budget if if we don't agree with it, but.
Okay, very good.
Okay, administrator? Page 4.
Can we go back to 3? I'm sorry.
Yes, Jerry.
I've got this highlighted for a reason, that's city council. Oh, we talked about the travel and lodging and the training. What did we decide?
There was not a consensus of council at the time, so we did not make any change to the budget.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, Darcy?
On page 4, I had a couple of things, one question and one statement. On, under personnel 506-1350 on the drug testing, I'm just wondering, I mean, not specifically who, but what types of people are we drug testing, or why is that money in the budget for that?
Every staff member goes into a pool. City staff, the public works, the cops, everybody, they go into a pool. And it's, Jill can better explain it to you, it's randomly picked like
We
a,
have a company that randomly selects people and then we send them down for a test where they come and show up on site.
Okay,
Or,
And it's usually 3 to 4 every 3 months or something like that.
okay, so it's done quarterly.
and in addition, if there's somebody involved in an accident in a company vehicle, we'll have them drug tested, or if they're acting erratic, or we have reason to suspect, we can do the proper paperwork to have them drug tested.
And pre-employment screenings for every employee.
Yeah, I took one.
Well, I did recommend for you to take one.
Appreciate
You're
it.
way too happy. And then I had a statement just on the uniforms, as Jill knows, and she keeps bringing up that, kind of have a thing with the whole uniform deal. But, so there's 400 in there now currently for the administrator. I would expect to see, that zeroed out next year as long as, David's still here, cause I think 400 would be enough to get you some shirts or whatever, and a jacket or, you know, whatnot, and you probably wouldn't need $400 worth of shirts and stuff for, again, next year. So that'd be my thought on that, so.
Jerry.
On the salaries, the requested budget, does that reflect the requested increase?
Yes, that is one half of his salary. The other
Okay.
half is split out between wastewater and water.
Yeah, and not just
That's
him so much,
76,000.
because he just started, but the benefits don't seem to have increased in the same proportion, just like social security. I could be off on what I
Well,
figured.
this is
but-
the administrator. So
Yeah,
if
I
you remember
understand.
that he didn't request some of the benefits,
Th-
so they
This
wouldn't
is,
be.
but still, it's relevant to all the salaried positions. I see the same issue.
Well, if you notice on the administrator, the social security expense, we budgeted 2,300. It would, so far it's only 1,461.
Right.
We budgeted 24 for the coming year. And on the Medicare expense, the same thing. We budgeted 575 for the coming year.
But doesn't your Medicare go up with, isn't that based on your salary? How much you make? Same with your social security taxes.
It's a
Well,
it is, it's a
split into
percentage
those
of.
other departments
Right,
too, so
right,
there's
and
more
social
over
security,
there.
most of us know how that's calculated, and that doesn't jive with the salary
But his
increase.
other 50% is in the other two departments. This is just one half of his
I
expense.
understand, but at the same time, that still doesn't not reflect.
Let the
Huh?
treasurer speak.
So I put together a spreadsheet that has the percentages of the Medicare, the Social Security, TMRS, and things like that. And this is the numbers that the spreadsheet had come up with, off of the percentages.
It's all calculated is what you're saying.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, ma'am.
Okay. I would expect a 7% increase on the social security is just one of the areas I'm talking about. But if you say the calculations are correct, then I'm not one to argue, as long as you know they're correct, but I just don't think they are.
You understand that these numbers are reflected through 3 different accounts, right? So
Sure.
it'll come up, all the money is not taken out of one account, it's like, 50%.
I understand.
Okay,
That's why I say it still doesn't seem to reflect accordingly, and I could be wrong.
I think that's what they're saying is you're wrong.
yeah.
That
So
it's
there's
all
no-
the
there's-
increases are
Well,
there.
that's fine, but, okay.
I mean, I do hear what you're saying, Jerry, but I do see the increases here.
Yeah, and it's gonna be, I think, more apparent when we get to a full salary on there. I mean, this is just partial, and I understand why, of course, but, I'm
Based
saying the
on
same thing.
I don't know what we're gonna end up at year to date, but based on what we budgeted and what we're budgeting last year versus next year, it's only a $50 difference. Cause if you take 550, divide it by 2, multiply it by 4, and then divide that by the 575, divide it by 2, multiply it by 4, then you get $50 difference from last year to this year. So I don't know if that's like a 5%
Yeah, this probably isn't
increase.
the best one to look at, just because it's partial numbers.
So,
Okay.
Okay, nothing else has changed in the administrator. Any other questions, Sherry?
The education for the new administrator, of course. The travel and lodging. You've looked at these numbers. Do you feel confident, or you feel pretty good with these numbers the way they are? I'm thinking that we're gonna see an increase because you have maybe some special training and those type of things that you're gonna need to participate in based upon your new position. So I just want to make sure that there's enough in there
I feel there's enough in there for this.
for that.
For right now, yes, there's enough in there.
if there's some opportunity that you wanna pursue, then, I mean, we can clearly do a budget amendment.
May I,
And that's what I'm getting at.
we discussed, there's some training that he wants to go ahead and get into his certified city manager's course. But it's covered in this year's budget, so he went ahead and spent this year's budget,
Registering
training.
for it.
Oh,
Cool.
so
okay,
that's
good.
getting behind us.
Great.
So we are
Okay.
really trying to cover all the bases here,
Okay. Good to hear.
okay? Y'all good with page 5?
Yes, ma'am.
Page 6. Page 6, I would like you to note that the master plan, 506-8550, we got the invoice for phase 4, the final 4. It's going to have to be, this 100,000 is increased, it's $130,360 for phase 4. So that line item will go up.
13360, is that what you said?
130365,
130,365.
but then we'll be done with the master plan. Okay. Page 7. City Secretary.
Oh, I did have one thing, I'm sorry, on
Yes,
6.
ma'am.
The late fees, I know we don't have anything, requested there, and we, haven't spent anything this year, but they did, we did have something in the budget. I just want to say we need to avoid that. I have seen in the past, so the year before, that we had
Absolutely.
spent money there, so I did just want to mention that, but that was all I have.
Thank you. Okay, page 7, none of these numbers have changed since the last time you saw it.
Well, this is where we stopped, isn't it?
We
Oh,
got
no,
through,
we
all
did,
the way
we
through the
got through this
secretary.
one, that's right.
But, if I may,
Yes, ma'am.
we were gonna take the 200 out of the uniforms
Oh, that's right.
on 508-2350.
Yes, ma'am.
And I had a question on the travel and lodging and the training, and I just wanted, that was just for you, Jill, and for your assistant, or for the admin assistant only?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jerry.
Still on page 7. TWC unemployment insurance. We're at 1325, current budget. Request is for 3,000. What's the increase due to? That much? It's almost, it's more than double.
It was like that under administrator also. And I'm wondering if we're gonna continue to see that throughout
That-
salaries.
Well, and I have highlighted that in all of them, so.
So it went up to 3.6%, that's why.
What was it previously?
Yeah, but this is
0.1,
like a,
I believe it was 0.1, but it went up to 3.6%.
So it tripled.
Percentage of the salary.
It tripled.
percentage of the salary. And it went up from what? From what to what?
From 0.1 to 3.6.
0.1?
Yes.
That's more than triple.
That doesn't
It's like
seem possible.
300%.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem possible.
That's what their website.
Their rate is based upon the claims against the city, and
Okay,
so,
that's,
if you have no claims, I think mine was 1.8 for years and years and
I
years.
think it wasn't 0.1%, it was 1%. Is that,
It was 1 point
there's a
something.
difference.
yeah.
Yes, ma'am,
Yeah.
This is about, I'm guesstimating, about 120% increase.
yes, and I don't have the previous one with me, but when I paid the TWC, I'm almost guaranteed it was 0.1 because it was so low. And then now it's just been, it's more than tripled.
Sure.
I think it's important to have answers of why it has tripled. I mean, that's not just a couple bucks, that's a significant amount of money.
Right, but the state comes up with that. I do not.
But we should know why it's increased.
Okay, we'll find out.
Yeah, thanks.
Yes, Jerry.
This will be an education here. The employee appreciation, what is that?
Birthday parties, cake,
Coffee, water,
yeah.
I asked
mean,
that before.
Taco Tuesdays from time to time, if we have to work through lunch, if we're shorthanded, just things like that. We have a monthly birthday, so anybody's birthday that's in that month. We try to make cakes personally, but sometimes we just don't have time and we'll have to buy one, so it goes under that category.
And that's where, which one is that?
Employee
Well, it's
appreciation.
in all of them, but for example, on this one, it's right here. And we're budgeted for, this isn't necessarily big dollars, but I still have questions about this stuff. It went from budgeted $150 to $326. This is just on the city secretary.
It's only in the city secretary, Jerry, it's not in every department.
It's in
No, it isn't.
administrator.
It is?
No, ma'am,
Yeah, it's in a lot of them.
Oh, okay.
it's in all
And
positions.
see, if you look here, that one's under budget, so I don't know if it
Well,
just
that's fine,
wasn't
but
coded
still, I
to
mean-
different departments.
Oh, yes, we do.
Add them all up and,
Yeah,
and sure don't have any problem with,
I think we had
Celebrating
ordered
something.
sandwiches for a going away party once for, when Jay left and things like that. I mean, it's.
Should we just set a flat amount and say $500 and finish with it? Would
I
it be
think I
sufficient?
added it up and it was like $1,000 is what it was. Do you have a total amount, Amber?
No, I'll have to add them up.
Yeah, I added it up when we first started this
She had her hand
process.
up.
I just wanted to point out too that, while you're looking at the city secretary side,
Mm-hmm.
and it's over what was budgeted there, it's also under budgeted in the other departments, just
but
two.
budgets don't work that way.
I know what you're saying, I'm just pointing out that it maybe
I
could have been
understand.
coded differently and distributed to
Because
different
typically,
departments.
I'm the only one with a credit card, so I'll buy the cake or the food or whatever the case may be, so it just gets put on me.
Yes, Jerry.
It just should show up appropriately, that's all, in the appropriate
I don't
department.
Well, we
disagree.
are getting
Yeah.
to the end of the budget year, we'll be making budget amendments, and they will all zero out before it's all over. So. Anything else on page 7?
Well, I would just point out that this is like, a few years back when we were going through budget, the council at that time wanted all of these types of expenditures distributed among the different departments, right? So this is one, for example, like if, Darcy, I think you said just create a max amount. I wouldn't mind just seeing it all go under city administrator, and that way David's responsible for, when it happens, where it happens, and it's all in one spot, so it doesn't, it might paint a clearer picture.
Right.
Yes, Jerry.
I would agree with that.
Okay, we'll make a note
Yeah.
to.
Or,
And I'm not
or city
nitpicking, and I
secretaries
don't
if
have
she's
a
the one
problem.
that's doing it,
I'm not nitpicking, it seems that way, but I'm not nitpicking, and I don't mind the expenses there, it's just being able to see it all, without going through everything and adding them all up.
Well,
especially on a smaller dollar item like that, you know, $1,000 or less. That should be under the administrator
Okay,
at
we'll
his
move it.
discretion.
Tony?
So, I think it should be one or the other. It's gonna be hard for me to decide which accounts are distributed and which aren't. And so if
Oh,
we
right.
have if we have the notes that say 100% of this is secretary and 50% is admin, and, I mean, if we have the notes, then it should be for the whole
Okay, cool.
section. I just,
We'll get that done.
I mean, I hate it, period, like that. I would rather it just all be one total under, I wanna see total city stuff, not broken out by department, but
So,
agree.
may I clarify, Tony, do you mean for all of these expenses? or
yeah, I'm just
that
saying
one?
I'm just saying that I don't think we should just say, okay, appreciation shouldn't be distributed, because then I'm not gonna, unless, I don't know, unless it's easy for them, I guess, and then we just take the line item completely off the rest.
And
Cause
just
this,
put it
cause
on-
this little note down here assumes, I'm assuming that when I get to the admin assistant, then I'm gonna see all of these exact lines, and they're gonna, I'm gonna have to
Exactly.
take the one from here, the one from here, and one from here, add it up, and then I'm gonna get the total employee appreciation. If I get to the future departments and there's not one there, then I'm gonna go, oh, well,
They don't
is that
appreciate
accurate, or was it a mistake? I mean, you know, so I would rather them all be done or not done at all.
Okay, I think we understand, yes.
Okay, so I just wanna clarify, are we putting it all together under one,
Well, I don't know, you got two different opinions, so I guess
know,
we'll figure.
That's why
well,
I'm wondering.
The consensus I'm hearing is to put
When,
it all together.
when
under
David tells you to do
one.
something, then that's when you do it. Until then, we're just talking amongst ourselves and we don't know what we're doing, so.
Okay, are we done with page 7 yet?
No direction today, it's a workshop.
All right, page 8. Again, these are the same numbers that we reviewed. Okay, page 9. Finance Department. Darcy was first.
Okay.
Uniforms,
Uniforms, gone.
thank you. And then I was wondering, what the 13,000 was for in software subscription fees.
Go ahead.
So, most of the software subscription fees falls under finance because I touch everything. And so that's why the majority of it is gonna be under the treasurer's budget.
Cause it's our accounting system
Yes,
and other people input to it, but you own it.
yes.
But
So-
why is it 8,000, almost 8,000 more than it was the previous year, or say 7,000 more than it was last year? For the year-to-date actual that we have for now, so.
May I quickly? I have that breakdown in my office. Y'all got that at one point, I believe. With RX Technology and Tyler Technologies, they sent us a breakdown of all of the modules. We hadn't gotten breakdowns of all of the modules before. We had simply split it up, okay, about 5,000 for you, about 6,000 for you, about 2,000 for you. But now we actually got a breakdown, got the prices. Amber broke it all down, put it in the budget, and she took the big hit.
Okay. Yeah, Tyler's very expensive and all the modules are
So
very different, so.
So
I
just to
get
clarify that, so when you add it up, ultimately, it's not gonna look, other people went down as opposed to this
That's
department going down, okay. I just wanna make sure I understood that accurately.
So, I have that,
You have it.
this breakdown, if you would like a copy of it, I can give it to you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yes, Jerry.
Just want to note that same here, TWC unemployment insurance, which y'all are going to address, but just that it's across the board. Like on this one, we went up from 550 is what was budgeted to 1,250, but yet we've only used 189 to date. The numbers aren't jiving. again. You would think we would see some reflection in that, but just another note on that, that's all.
Jerry?
Down under education, we had budgeted 1,800 for travel and lodging, used 0. We still requested 1,800, they've still requested 1,800 on that travel and lodging. If we didn't spend any this year, what's the need this coming year?
Because COVID shut everything down last year. We've got chief oat conventions, not
Okay.
conventions, gatherings, the Investment Act training that has to be different things that need to be done.
Okay, and then under training, 1,550, we have 1,200 there, budgeted, a little above budget at 1,396. Does that need to be increased? Because the requested is the same.
Amber?
No, I don't believe it, I don't believe it needs to be increased. I think it's
You
fine
don't?
the way it is.
You don't have any trainings that you're hoping to get into, or,
Yes, I do.
But not to exceed 1,200.
huh?
But not, she doesn't think it'll exceed 1,200. She's already lined out kind of what she wants to do.
Okay. Those areas where we budgeted for those things, especially training and education, I sure don't have a problem with at the end of the year when I see every penny of that spent for good cause, you know? So hopefully that'll continue.
Okay, page 10. Jerry?
Under services, 10-5-10, 50-50. Contract labor, just educate me on that one. What is that for?
So there is a CPA that I seek advice from, or if I feel that something isn't kosher, I'll contact him and he'll help me with things. So, we pay him out of contract labor.
Doesn't he also help with the year-end closing?
He does, he helps out with anything that I am unsure, or if I have any questions, he's very knowledgeable about Encode. He worked for Tyler Technology for several years, and so he knows the ins and outs of it as well.
We're done with page 10?
I have a question.
Yes, Darcy.
The Cell Air card, what is that used for?
That is the, right now it was being used by the park, but normally if I go out of town for training, or if for some reason I can't get service at my house or whatnot, then that's what it is. It's like a hotspot, yes, thank you.
Yeah, I don't think that's worth $500. And I see that in several departments, and I don't think that we need to be spending, there's very few people that actually need that. Will maybe needs that, our admin needs that,
Do we take Square at the park?
Yes.
Parks then would need that, but the finance department, I mean, she's not gonna have a finance emergency at her house where she can't get here and do her work here. There should be Wi-Fi at the hotel if she's doing training. That's a waste of $500.
Sure.
I would have to agree with that. Or I do agree with that.
And that's not gonna be the only one. I mean, I've seen it over and over again throughout the budget, so.
Okay.
I didn't see it in secretary
We're done with page
or
10.
admin. We're gonna zero that out.
I do have a hotspot
You
as
do?
well, and I do use it at every conference I go to, because a lot of times they don't have Wi-Fi in the conference room unless you pay for it, so it's, the hotspots are $50 a month through FirstNet, who we have our cellular data from, so I would, I mean, y'all didn't take that out of my budget, but I'm just requesting
I
that
think
you
you
not.
need it.
So,
I don't think finance department needs it. She's at a conference, she can go to her hotel room and get it, or somebody else can go look at whatever it is. She doesn't need an air card.
So I have
Okay.
a
Page,
question.
yes, Tony.
I have a question, Jill.
and then at the park, oh, I'm sorry, we were just,
So is your hotspot tied to your cell phone,
no,
or it's separate?
separate.
It's separate. So how many do we have total?
So we have total, well, the marshal's office all has them in their police cars. Then we have one down at the park, and it runs the squares during the summer, but now it runs all the time, 24 hours a day, the cameras that we have down there. So once we put the hotspot down there, we'll install cameras so we can see everything going on in and out. So that one stays down there.
Yeah, and it's $1,100, so that's a difference. It's not 500, it's 1,100, so I noticed that.
All the hotspots are the same amount.
Okay, well, it's 1,100 in the budget.
Well, it's
Okay.
distributed differently based on department, how many uses them, or what?
I don't know how she has it split up, but the hotspots are right at $50 a month, correct, Amber?
I'm sorry, so.
They're right at $50, the hotspots?
Yes.
And the phones are $34.77 or something like that. So David has one, I have one, Will has one, and the
Marshal's
police.
office has 5. There's one in each patrol car.
So I would like to just recommend David look at that and see if we can't figure out a better use of money and see if we can't streamline it, or, I mean, I'm not questioning the fact that they're being utilized, but there's gotta be a, you know, maybe we can streamline it somehow or something. David says it's a good use of money, then I'm in.
Sherry?
I agree, but you said that's $50 per month, then this line item should be 600.
I actually believe that she was rounding it up, I think it's $37 per
Okay.
month, but rounding it up to an even.
I mean, you're at 407 already for the year-to-date.
I mean,
You're on course to
I
be
would
above
even-
500, so
We only have.
just check.
Yeah, I'll just
Verify
research
that.
on it and report back to the council.
I would even entertain maybe BEC putting in internet Wi-Fi or something down there by the park entrance to where we could cover the cameras, we could cover the park use, and our employees would have the password or something, and that would cut a lot of that down. And then if you go to conference or somebody needs to work from home, we have one that people share, or, you know.
I've never been to a conference where I couldn't get Wi-Fi, and I go
Yeah.
to
I've been
conferences
to-
all the time.
Yeah, I've been to a conference where I don't like using unsecured networks for my work, so
Your work's
anyway.
He's got his hand up. Jared.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I think almost
What page
forgot
are
what
y'all
it
on?
was.
I believe we're still on page 10.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, I just went blank. It's funny.
Yeah, and I hadn't seen
Oh.
the term air card used until now. I don't know, I might have missed it. Anyway,
We use them.
Okay, now I'm ready.
No.
the word aircon.
In the
BEC
budget
free
outside,
Wi-Fi
so
doesn't
that
work at
Jill's.
the park?
No,
Okay. All right, that was,
we've tried it. Does
okay.
not work at the park.
Okay, we're still on page 10?
We might be done. I think we're done.
Okay, page 11. Marshal Department.
Oh, boy.
Sherry?
On the salary, sure, good explanation. We're at 239 current budget, year-to-date 222, and I didn't go back calculate how much over budget it appears that we are, but it appears we're running a little bit over budget on that. And then there was a request to increase that to 250,000.
Yes, I'm not showing that we're over.
Oh, you're not over yet, but based on year-to-date actual, if it continues for the next 4 months, then
No, we don't have 4 months left.
Three.
Just one.
3.
No, one.
Shoot,
Sorry.
okay, got me.
Just one in the count.
Okay, what was the question? I get educated a lot. All right, thanks.
We have longevity rates on certain ones, and there's been changes since I started on this, but my figuring was correct, and Amber would have to double check me, but 240 would take care of the longevity raises that are council approved. I had asked for a 5% raise, and that's merit based, that's not across the board. And I know that your next door neighbor to your right is gonna say something about step stuff and everything. I can't do step and merit stuff without money, so if I don't have the money in there to say, okay, well I gotta have room. So if somebody's doing a bang up job and gets an excellent evaluation, if I don't have any money to give them a raise, I can't give it to them. I would just give them a pat on the back. As it stands,
The way the world's working these days.
well,
That does work
That's
well.
realities, and, you know,
It's reality in all of our worlds.
That does mean a lot to people, though.
Yeah, and
You know that.
I
Until they
worked
go
places
cruise into
where
the
it was
next room.
computerized, where on such and such date, if you didn't do something wrong to mess it up, the computer just gave you a raise, and it was wonderful. But
Those days are
I've only
gone.
worked in one of those places, and I understand that that's not how it is here, so I'm asking for, now I've got one employee that's brand new, he's not eligible for that, he's not even in there for that. And by all means, if we can't do it, we can't do it, but if I don't ask for it, it doesn't.
Then you
get
assume the
considered.
answer is no. That's
Well,
right. You
I know
just-
the answer
Then
will
his
be
hands
no.
are tied, is what he's saying.
No, I'm just saying if you don't ask for it, then it's not up for discussion. So,
Exactly
yeah.
right, so the 252 is, or I think it's 250 on your paperwork now, is for the 5% for the ones that could possibly be eligible, given good evaluations, et cetera. Not for the one that's brand new and not gonna be eligible. 240 would be to cover the ones who are eligible for their merit raises, not merit, I'm sorry, longevity raises.
Longevity.
Sure.
Okay, I'm back on the social security thing again.
Okay,
This
we've already
one,
agreed to have them review that, so since
Well,
it's this way throughout the budget, can we just let them review
this is a
and
little
go
bit
back?
different.
Okay,
This one actually shows a decrease, so those numbers can't be right. You got an increase in the salary and a decrease in the requested budget for that social security tax expense. So
Good enough.
that definitely couldn't have been calculated correctly.
All right,
Okay?
we'll review the calculations on all those,
Okay.
every position. To piggyback on what Marshall just said, salaries, I'm in the process of doing a salary survey right now, so, the 5% is considered for merit raises, and it should be considered, in my opinion, across the board. There needs to be a major restructure and a adjustment on the salaries the way they currently are. If you want to attract and retain good quality people, we're at 7% on TMRS, which is great, but a pat on the back don't feed your family, just quite frankly. So I'll just ask y'all to consider that as I present this salary survey and request the potential raise for the staff, because my understanding they hadn't had a raise for a couple of years. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
So that's fine. So I just want to make sure, so what the salary increase in here is 5% and just for the budget part. And then you're going to be doing a salary survey and then we're going to be talking about the restructuring and the reallocating.
Right, well, 5% came from Marshall's office, right? So.
No, I know, but I have that as a question generically at the end because I didn't want to talk about it every single,
Yes, ma'am.
you know what I'm saying? So I know.
5%, we can start there for consideration as,
But then it
Yes.
sits there as a budgeted amount until we get to the survey and all of the
Yes.
other stuff we talked about.
yes,
Okay,
ma'am, that'd be great.
thank you.
Jared.
And are you just looking at merit increases or the longevity also?
Well, that's another conversation,
Yeah,
I
I
guess
was
the
gonna
statute,
bring that up, too.
ordinance says, for the marshal's office to get a 2.5% mandatory raise every other year, but it don't say anything about the rest of the staff, so to me, that's a problem also. So as y'all know, it's my 3.5 weeks here, and, but I'm drilling
Dog
down.
years, David, we never said it would be anything else.
I'm sorry.
You're living dog years.
That's right.
Welcome.
I'm loving it, yeah, it's good. I'm still here, so that's a good thing.
Not boring, that's for sure.
Okay. Rebecca?
Yes, ma'am.
And I just wanted to comment, well, I don't wanna get into your decision making at all, but in my opinion, like if someone qualifies for the longevity and then they got another 5% merit increase, that would seem like a big increase in a year. But so it's hard for me to imagine budgeting a 7.5% increase for an individual. Do you know what I'm saying? So, and I'm happy to move forward with the 5%, but yeah, for an individual to get 7.5% in a year, that would feel like a lot to me.
Jerry?
Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but those raises are for everyone too. Longevity, 2.5,
Well,
and
it's structured differently. If you want to
The
explain that again,
longevity is a council approved,
it's an ordinance,
structure.
right?
After the first year, after 1 year, it's 3% on their anniversary, and then every other year it's 2.5% longevity. And most,
Regardless of merit.
yeah, it's just.
but that's just on the
longevity.
marshal side, correct?
Yes,
Right.
Yeah,
And
so
I
I'm
think
talking about everyone else.
That happened before I was here, and I agree, it's unfortunate, because I'm sure we had longevity discussions last year, and, I think it helps retain employees. I mean,
Yeah,
we
I think we
have-
need to look, I mean, we've asked David to look at it for like across the board. I mean,
When this was first done, council, it was when the Marshal Department was first created. And in an effort to bring the law enforcement salaries here up to be comparable to the surrounding areas, the council enacted this stair step,
right, and in my
System.
opinion, that was very short-sighted.
as with so many
Because there
things.
was no cap to it. I mean, it's like, I mean, I get the fact that you're trying to get here and you do regular increases to maintain your budget and to try to, soften your budget increases every year like we do the water rate increases. But at some point, when you become level with everybody else or when the world is not getting increases, I'm not saying they don't deserve it, I'm just saying at some point it needs to be reevaluated, because if you're still giving increases and the rest of the people are down here, then you've missed your mark.
Right.
And so, if we're still catching up, then keep doing it, but if we're not, then that's what the survey reviews, or the salary survey should give us.
With all due respect, every department around here has been hiring for almost the entire time I've been here. We are rarely ever short-staffed. And we only hire someone who has an intermediate or higher certification. So we have a decent bar of experience that they have to start off with.
Right.
So
No, I agree with that, and we do
Yeah.
get very good people in our marshal's office, and my comment was more generic, that it's short-sighted to do, if your purpose is one thing, then at some point you have to reevaluate when you get, after 5 years, reevaluate or resurvey or whatever and adjust that percentage. It could go up. I mean, if somebody else is increasing, then you need to increase it a little more. But we also need to do it across the board, for all people, not just the marshal's office. So that yeah.
No, that's my challenge. I represent the entire staff, so it's hard to say, well, okay,
Right,
they said we haven't had a raise in 3 years, but there's a 2.5% mandatory ordinance for the police department.
right.
No, I'm retired police, nothing against the police department, I'm pro-police, but as
Yeah.
a manager, as an administrator, we have to be fair across the board to be
Yeah.
able to have some equity, fair and equitable distribution of,
Right.
the-
I don't
the-
disagree with
the
the reason
compensation
it
that
was
we
done or the
provide
fact
to-
that it was done,
Yeah,
yeah.
right, I understand that, but
Yeah.
at the same time,
I agree, David.
Needs to be reviewed, I believe.
Well, could we move on with the Marshal's
Yes,
Department?
ma'am.
Jerry, you had one last comment to make?
It was just about the salaries in general.
Well, let's leave the salaries in general till we get to salaries in general, shall we? Let's discuss the
Okay.
department. Okay. Still on page 11.
I'm on 13. Oh.
Just saying.
So I do have a question on 12.
Yes, ma'am.
So the building maintenance equipment, I'm all for that if it's something that needs to be done. And I definitely appreciate the office keeping up with the painting and looking fresh in here and moving things around, because I think it shows pride in your work ethic and environment and that kind of stuff. I just, I would like to see us better plan what it's for. Like, you know, are we gonna paint every 2 years? Are we gonna do flooring every 3 years? Are we gonna, you know, what are we gonna do as opposed to just putting the money in here and then get to the end and use or lose it, whether we need it or not? Because I think the money, if it's not planned for, then I think we could probably better use it other places, in training and in salaries, for instance. Because, I mean, I'm not saying anything, because I know that y'all do keep it nice and fresh, and, you know, I do know that there is maintenance that needs to be done.
Couple car crashes.
Couple car crashes, things without our control, you know, and I know that we've secured, for definitely needed reasons from incidences that happened, and improved the drive-through and that kind of stuff, and I get all that, but I just would like to kind of see a plan more in place with the money.
Darcy?
Well, how many, I'm sure you have a cell phone and think you absolutely need one. Who else, or, how many cell phones are in your department?
Mine and Deputy Heidelberg, the code enforcement. Right now, well, actually, that's not exact, there's three. The third one, Allison is using, on homework. Our office phone is forwarded to that phone, and she is handling all of our phone duties while she's also handling newborn.
Jerry?
So based upon 3 cell phones, now I have a question. So
Sorry, what line, where are we?
We are
we're
I'm
at
I'm looking for it. I
page
just-
12,
4650.
under utilities.
Thank you. There we go.
Budgeted 3,200, you've spent 3,200 already year to date, so you're gonna go over there, I guess, unless you're paying a yearly plan or something, but 3,200 for 3 cell phones? I must be mistaken.
No, I'm sorry.
Yep.
That's on par, everybody else is either $1,000 or $1,100 per year for their phone.
Well,
I don't even know if that's a lot or not then.
That should be including,
Okay.
The
five
hotspot.
He's trying to answer,
cards,
let's
5
listen.
hotspots. Like I said, there's one in each patrol vehicle because of the laptop in there that connects with the cloud service and
Okay.
Gillette's computer and all that. So we have to have internet service in the car. And unfortunately, that's our only option is that.
Okay.
There's radio options for that, but unfortunately this county is so backwards that we'll never get anywhere else.
3 cell phones and 5 hotspots.
Yeah, and after calculating that it probably isn't at all out of line.
Yeah, we,
100 something a month per
up
phone.
until, I wanna say last year, maybe the
90.
year before last, Jill went through and found, and I don't know if there were any of them in the marshal department, we had, I don't know how many just random cell phone accounts and numbers and everything else that we were paying, buku different cell phone charges, that she just started going through and turning them off. And amazingly enough, I don't know that anybody showed up and went, hey, my cell phone quit working. So she's cut down on a lot of waste on that, and it's just, used to everybody in the marshal's office had a cell phone. I thought it was ridiculous. And if I could quit answering mine at the end of the day, I could have mine.
Rebecca had her hand up.
Yeah, thank you. So just two things, and I'll just ask both, and you can answer as you like. Do we have a revenue spot for National Night Out for donations? And then do you have a building project? Like, is there a reason why we're budgeting more in your department than other departments under building maintenance?
May I interject before Will answers?
You'd have to ask Will.
National Night Out is his very own bank account. This is not money that we can spend in the budget, so this should not even be a budgeted line
Well,
item.
then delete
That's
it.
what I wanted.
Well, Encode won't let us just take it out like that. That's why it's a 0 this year. It's
Okay.
coming out.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Darcy.
Um,
I had two
Okay, go ahead,
questions.
Will.
So now you were asking about 512, 5500,
Yes, yes, sir.
8,000, yeah.
1250. I'm not really sure where I came up with or got that number. We
You got
did
it from last year?
Probably.
It's the exact same number.
Yeah, it was horrendous in there. The floor was, there was one layer of linoleum or whatever this was that was eaten through, and we were into a second and down to the third layer. We've gotten, did that. We did that on the budget plan and redid the floor. We've repainted. I spent this year, I've ordered lockers for in there because they don't have anywhere to put their stuff. So I've ordered lockers. They were waiting to get delivered, and it was like a little under $700. That's all that's gonna get spent out of that this year, out of this year's budget. I don't know that, we'll be doing anything. I'd like to improve we converted that one office to the code office, that was our storage and file and evidence room. I mean, we're just making the best of the situation. So, as nice as I can keep it, that's kind of
Oh,
what
y'all
we're
do.
doing.
I just would like to see a plan, kind of an idea of what it's, yeah.
I'm all up for suggestions. If anybody wants to sneak back there and give me an idea.
Well, I can guarantee I wouldn't know that y'all were eating through the linoleum, so I wouldn't know to suggest that, but.
Well, let's get through the budget. Darcy had her hand up.
okay, so, well, on the cell phones, there's an expenditure and code enforcement for a cell phone, so his is already accounted for at $1,000. And then, Amber, if the hotspots, are the hotspots part of that cell phone? Okay, then, to me, it should be broken out like the air cards, right? Like on everybody else's, so I know that it's 2 cell phones and 5 hotspots, or put them as hotspots, or name them all the same thing, so I don't think it's cell
Be
phones.
consistent, okay.
Yeah.
Cause we need to know what the money's been. And the citizens need to know that.
Or if you just rename it to cell phone / air cards or hotspots across the board.
I actually misspoke because Earl is now in code enforcement, and I've had 8 years of Earl being a deputy marshal, so it's still in my brain that way. So he's now in code, and so his cell phone has just moved over there. So in the marshal's office, I have 2 cell phones and 4 hotspots, and in code compliance, I have 1 cell phone and 1 hotspot.
Okay.
Accurate.
So the second one, it's like, it's acting as a dispatch, because you have everything forwarded to that phone, so whoever has it kind of acts as a,
Well, it's just,
That
for the
extra.
time being, yes.
oh, okay.
So does the on-duty patrol at night have the phone with them? They switch the phone
No,
over?
no, it was the code enforcement officer's phone. But when that officer resigned and Earl took over that position, he still had he was the one remaining one that had a city phone.
Okay.
So we repurposed the remaining phone for that, and when it's no longer needed for that, we'll get rid of it. Like I said, I've whittled it down. Everybody had one at one time, and we've just gotten rid of over time because there's not really honestly any need for it. You don't want a citizen that you're going to be talking to on the phone to have your cell phone number.
Right.
You can have them call dispatch. You can call them to dispatch. They can conference them together, and so there's just not really any point in the city paying for these extra ones. Now, the code enforcement officer is talking on the phone a lot, so it's useful to that end.
Thanks.
I like the idea of having a dispatch number. So we have, say, citizens call this number, which is your office number, and you can have it forwarded wherever. Because I think we were calling the county sometime, like, some people don't call up here during work hours, and they call during the county after hours, and so I think for citizens, I think it would be better to have a consistent, either call the office number and y'all forward it wherever you want it forwarded, or
Or it goes
Have
to
a dis-
voicemail and you leave a message, because that's what happens to me when I call it.
Yeah. I was
I'm
gonna
just telling you,
say,
somebody, if somebody's wanting an
Okay.
answer right then, that's not helpful.
Let's get back on the budget.
Dispatch, cause they have to keep
It says budget.
Jerry?
the numbers.
I'm not picking, but
That's okay.
you did go $393 on your vehicle purchase. But I truly have a question.
Go ahead.
On the equipment purchase, under tools and equipment,
Take those now.
give me a feel for what kind of stuff that is.
What line item are you on?
Might be top secret, I don't know.
7,000 tools and
10,512,7,000, tools and equipment.
It's everything from fingerprint stuff. We bought last year, duty weapons for everybody because everybody was using their own, which is not an ideal situation. The year before bought rifles, which we needed. We bought ammunition training barrels and
Okay.
equipment and stuff. It's that sort of
Okay,
stuff.
because I just wanted a feel for what that line item is.
Entry tools and rifle plate vests for the units, that kind of stuff.
Okay,
Rebecca?
I understand.
May I ask, does this include purchase of a Kelvin measuring tool for outdoor lighting compliance?
Calvin, you figured it out?
Kelvin.
Kelvin,
I think Kelvin is a measure.
Kelvin.
Kelvinator.
Kelvin. Yeah, whatever.
That would probably have to come out of code compliance, not,
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Good
that's true.
answer, sir.
I was gonna say that.
Okay, anything
That's
else on
code
page 12?
compliance.
Alright, page
Kelvin.
13.
Kelvin.
Oh, boy.
Animal control.
We need to give them more money.
Do they do anything?
Jerry?
Wait a second.
Okay, so
Okay.
under materials and supplies, line 10,513,2400, current budget $500, and we didn't spend any, we didn't feed those animals, or what?
We got donations.
Donations. I will say that.
People donate food to the shelter a lot.
And
We just haven't had to buy any.
there was more than enough food for them? I'm just really concerned that we didn't spend
We don't let the dogs
any
starve,
that we
I promise.
budgeted, huh?
We don't let them starve.
We
Get
really
'em some
don't have
treats
very
or
many
something.
animals in our.
And then the
So,
We have
animals,
volunteers that come out and feed them and play with them and
the animal supplies, what is that? I mean, what would it be?
Blankets and bowls.
Huh?
And blankets
Toys.
and bowls and
Oh, okay.
toys. And
flea shampoo.
You had the donations for this food this year, but is that something we can rely on? I would like to see that the dogs that we keep over there are fed.
I think you can rely
How
on the
much-
donations.
Okay. Any idea how much you received in donations, even a guesstimate?
I have no idea.
I mean, they bring food, they don't bring dollars, right?
Yeah, they just drop off bags
Oh.
of food and
Okay,
And we're supported by
okay.
Saving Sheltered Strays as well.
And FEMA during the snow, we had a whole truckload of dog and cat food. I'm sure we benefited from that lovely order.
Cool.
I think we have
We
stacks
didn't,
of
we
it.
didn't feed them. What are those things called when they,
San Antonio
So we
Food
don't
Bank,
need to
we
worry
had
about
to-
that,
we had
those line
to-
items. Okay.
18-wheeler.
Rebecca?
I know we had a conversation, I think it was during a budget workshop, about maybe looking into a spay and neutering program specifically for the stray cats. I don't know if council would agree to create a line item and start with some type of budget, and while we kind of explore different programs and grant opportunities, I don't know, just a thought.
May I, instead of doing that, let's get an opportunity, get it in mind and pursue it, and then make a budget amendment. It'd be much easier. Would it be 2,000, would it be 5,000, would it be 3,000? I think it'd be easier if we created the program, decided to fund it, and then just make a one-time,
Figure out what the need is and then
and then make a budget amendment to create the
Okay.
line item for it.
Okay.
And that would be true for health inspection and emergency management as well, I would think, because I brought both of those up as well, to include animal control.
Jerry?
Services, veterinary services, 5,300, we had 1,200 budgeted. What would that be for, without me assuming? What are those expenses, veterinary services?
We have had to, we've had animals that have had to be put down before and things like that. If they've come in sick or, you know,
So like if we had somebody, one of them that was injured, or we had to get a rabies test, or, I mean, all of those
They
things.
got hit by a car.
yeah.
But again, Saving Sheltered Strays helps us a lot with all of that as well.
Yeah, they do.
You can keep it,
Oh,
Rebecca.
okay, so, man, I'd rather see that 1,200 be put to use for spay or
Well, yeah,
something.
That could be
any of
veterinary
that.
services, actually, so.
It
Yeah.
could be that if
We
we
could
need it.
use
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
considering it was
Good
$0 that we spent.
Yeah.
And what about like fees? Like, do we have, am I missing it? I don't see any income for fees for people that have excessive,
Well, income would be over here on the first one.
If I may, because we talked about
Like
that.
for
and,
what?
And I really don't believe we even collect any. We collect the registration fees.
well, that's
right?
lack of management.
Well, we
I'm
pretty
thinking.
much don't, and the reason is, because I've asked this a lot, is because if we do, then they just abandon the animal, because they don't wanna pay the fees.
Yeah, they
So-
would.
I don't, I pay the fees
I do
every
too.
year.
No, when your dog gets picked up at the pound, you go pay for the.
Oh,
you
no,
don't
I
pay-
come in and register.
No, I'm
my
talking,
dog
we're talking
annually.
about
pound
that's-
fees.
Oh, gotcha.
Pound
But,
fees.
but what she's talking about is the same thing.
No, registration fees is, we should be collecting, but when animals get picked up by the pound, we don't charge, because people, once you tell them that, they just abandon them.
Yeah.
They
I
don't
don't
come
even
get them at all.
I don't even see income for animal control. Don't we usually do
do.
revenues and
There should
then?
be a registration fee, because we do
But
this
registration,
every year.
yes, but there was
I
a
didn't see
income.
that.
It goes
No,
from
we brought
Marshall's
that up.
department expenditures
Maybe
to,
No,
already
it
took
would
it
be
out.
in revenues, like,
Page one,
Page one,
oh, all of the revenues on one,
Yes.
down under
gotcha.
permit, it's, 10.
Oh, yeah.
30240.
Oh, there it is.
Where the animal control fee starts, and
246.
then underneath that.
That's why it's a big old zero.
I'm okay with that.
Service call, zero. And then there's your tag fees.
So we only have 40 registered animals? Am I calculating that right?
I have 2 of them.
I have 2
it's on at
myself.
$10.
I'm guilty. I registered in the first time and I haven't changed vets and my dogs are the same for all these years and I haven't ever registered them again.
Mine are deceased.
Marshall?
You even admitted to guilt.
Why
You got her.
Why wouldn't I?
I'm kidding.
I mean, I don't have
I'm
anything to
just
hide.
kidding.
I mean,
Just kidding.
my dogs, they're the same dogs, the same vet. I mean, they get there. It's like,
I know. I'm with
Okay.
you.
nothing's changed.
I agree.
Are we done with animal
But
control?
it's $10 annually
For,
with proof of rabies shot.
I had a button
it's
on my
$20
watch.
if they're not spayed or neutered.
Oh, I didn't know you could do it. if
What's
it
that?
were-
$20
Oh, yeah, I
if they're
did
not
know that.
spayed or neutered.
But who's gonna admit that? You gotta bring the dog in.
It says it on your stuff,
Oh, does it?
on your vet.
Yeah,
Well, I guess
got
it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I got a reminder letter.
Okay, are we done with the animal control?
I've never gotten one.
Oh, I do too.
I don't know. I can't explain it.
Yes, ma'am.
We put it
Okay,
on the utility
municipal
bill
court.
this year.
Any questions of municipal court? Darcy?
Sell air card, I can't imagine why they would need, the court would need that.
Okay.
Uniform,
So, I can tell you why.
Okay.
Over at the courthouse, when they do the court over there, the internet is horrible, they can't connect to it or anything, so they have to have an air card to go over there.
I believe that, that's a shame, but I
And
believe
it's,
it.
yeah, and it's not gonna improve because
No. Yeah,
Well, I
stop.
It's a
don't
good
know-
excuse for
I don't
them
know
not
if
to be
that's exact there.
transparent.
They won't, the
county won't let them connect to the Wi-Fi.
Oh my gosh.
Is the,
Okay, well, I was informed on that one, so.
Somebody needs to
Okay,
have
I'll-
a conversation.
If it's okay, I'll talk to somebody about that and see if we can remedy it, and so maybe we can mark off this $500 expenditure. Not saying I can solve it, but I will
Okay.
try if it's
Good
okay.
luck.
Anything besides that?
I know people, Jill.
All right, I know you do.
Anything else you need, in which
Can
report,
you agree
Jerry?
with that, Mr. Jordan?
This
Yes,
is,
I have no idea.
Besides unemployment
Yeah.
tax insurance.
this is not specific just to municipal court, but I do have a question on the overtime. Big difference from the year before, we're talking thousands of dollars a year before, and now we're down to a few hundred, but I thought we eliminated overtime for the salaried positions.
Those are
This
not
is
salaried
just-
positions.
Well, I'm talking, that's why I said, you see it in the other areas where they are salaried.
Well, in Jill's department, the overtime is for Healy.
Admin assistant.
If she has to be here at a meeting, she's also paid out of her department.
Okay,
Yeah,
So it's not for the.
Okay, well,
There
that
are
explains that one.
Specialists and other stuff.
Okay.
And there's
That's
not
where we're
much
breaking all this
overtime. I mean,
stuff
we
out.
do have people that walk in at 5 o'clock too, and they might have to be here 15 or 20 minutes
Right,
later.
so
They have to get here.
it is
a little
not
bit
for the
early to
salaried
get their
personnel.
I'm not
ready.
talking about the regular or the non-salaried, the hourly people. I'm talking about the salaried people.
Yeah,
That's
no,
all.
you cut all of our overtime. Nobody, me, Amber, and Public
Okay.
Works Director all got cut, so
Yeah, that,
we don't get overtime.
okay.
Okay, we're on the forward. Any other questions on page 14?
So, I'm just curious about under education, travel and lodging is significantly higher, but the seminar and tuition is only, I mean, it just doesn't seem proportional to the.
There's a reason for that. Go ahead, fellas.
Yeah, and we use nothing.
Okay, so our judges have to have, training every year, and so that's why. It's down in,
Here, I got it right here.
yes, the.
Okay.
I have one seminars in Galveston this year, and the other seminars in San Padre Island, you know, the rough places of the world.
Oh, nice.
Anyway,
I want training in
the
South
two
Padre.
judges have to go, and Allison needs to go.
Thank you,
So we calculated all that into the budget for this year,
thank you.
but that's required training for them.
So the seminars are free and they just have to pay for the lodging?
No, it's seminars that cost $100, a room for 2 nights $100 a piece, room for the third night's about $152, mileage is $166.88, meals is $152.50 per person, etc., etc. So I've itemized this if you want to see it, but that's the reason for the jump.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Anything else on 14?
Uniform budget looks great.
Yes. Here, Carl, here, there.
Contract services, that is for the judges.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
correct.
And y'all are saying judges plural, was Eno back?
Do we have one and a backup?
One an associate, yes ma'am.
Yeah, Mike is the judge and Eno's associate.
Okay,
Yes,
I was
ma'am.
thinking Eno retired and it was just Mike, I didn't know when he came back.
He retired from his JP position, but he's still
Still ours, okay.
doing our little thing. Okay, code compliance.
Is this one employee? I'm sorry, Jerry had his hand up.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I just jumped in.
It's all right, go ahead. Oh, hang on.
Jerry?
You can,
Jerry.
okay. The salary, I didn't see any notes where this is broken out. So this salary is for one FTE, correct?
correct.
And will he be doing any other law enforcement duties?
He occasionally fills in if somebody's out on the day shift, he covers or.
Okay.
We had not split that out before because it's so hard to go, was it once a month or once
Okay.
every 6 months, or.
I-
You know, if the other day shift officer calls in sick, it means I don't have to scurry around and call somebody else in and pay them overtime or whatever. It allows a lot of flexibility and not having to pay the overtime.
And if I may, Will, if you don't mind, and that particular officer too has been around for quite some time.
You know,
And
about 2 weeks less than I've been here, and he was actually here before
The
me,
marshals.
when he was with the police department.
and if there's a major emergency or something like that, of course, or even an accident or something that other marshals couldn't get to, of course, he would go.
Did Jerry?
Questions?
Yeah, I was still talking, but that's okay. I feel strongly that there's more than enough work out there for one FTE in that department. And I understand your use of them, but I don't like to hear the excuses that, you know, we can't do this we haven't got to this or that as far as code enforcement goes, because he may have needed to assist in law enforcement. That's why I felt strongly that the code enforcement officer should be separate from the marshal's department. And it doesn't reflect on you. It's just too easy to grab that person to use them as law enforcement. And once again, with all of the stuff we've got that we're not able to enforce, I highly recommend that we don't continue that practice, because there's too much that's not getting taken care of in code enforcement. And we need to dedicate that person to just that. He's got more than enough for 8-10 hours a day.
I think this was one of the things we asked of David, to look at our overall structure, hierarchy. Do we have the right people reporting to the right places? Do we have the right schedules? And in my conversation with David, that code enforcement was one of them, because I don't think it's acceptable to have the mentality in our community that code enforcement is only done Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And I do know that we have other people out on the streets. We've got the Marshal's Department. We've got Department of Public Works. We've got other people that could help us be eyes on the streets. And so I kind of talked to David about, you know, it's more than a one-person job, and it should never be 8 to 5, because there's so much going on the weekends. And so I would like to let David have time to review all of that and come back to us with suggestions and actually discuss from that point.
Rebecca?
Yeah, and I would also kind of couple with that idea in thinking that really evaluating our use of Bureau Veritas and whether that's the best, if it's best for us to continue forward with that as a contract service as opposed to having someone in-house, a building official. We've got the new zoning and all of these new components of the master plan rolling out, and to have someone local with their heart in the community and living in the community that's able to do building review and help really connect the community with this office in moving things forward. Just that whole evaluation, I would hope that we could consider in what direction we take code enforcement and inspections and all of that, you know, looking at the big picture, law enforcement, code enforcement, because that's local ordinances too, you know.
Animal control.
Like you were animal control, and like Tony mentioned, the code enforcement officer will certainly not be enforcing outdoor lighting ordinances, for example, when they work 8 to 5, right? So thank you.
Darcy?
And I can see and certainly agree with parts of what everybody's saying. I think in doing parts of what everybody's saying, we would have to create another department. Where are we gonna house them? There goes more money. We have to hire more people, and I would say probably 2 more, because you've gotta have somebody that knows all the same things that Bureau Veritas knows and what they do. And then have at least one person that you're gonna have at night, you know, that goes and checks on all the different things in the different hours. And you've gotta have a backup, because if you have one person at night, one person during the day, you've gotta have a backup that can work one or the other. So that's at least 3 people in a department. So here we go with all these costs, right? I don't know how much we contract with or how everything works with Bureau Veritas. I'm just saying all the costs add up. It's a bigger deal than, you know, just going, hey, let's switch this out. And it's definitely something we wanna look at for sure. But I understand not having just one person Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, because people definitely take advantage of that.
I would lean toward a flex schedule more than,
Jerry had his hand up, but I'd like to hear from the marshal first, please.
Well, strangely enough, I agree and disagree with, well, everybody that's spoken, and as hard as that is to believe, and some of y'all remember me almost throwing a fit trying to stay out of the code enforcement business on several different occasions.
he looks at me because I was the one that suggested that.
Well, I think you will agree that I've tried very hard. I
Yeah.
believe I've done what I've been asked to do about
Yep.
specific issues.
Yep.
I'd ask that we give Earl a chance, because I don't know if we've had enough time. Earl's been in the neighborhood, Earl's been talking to people. Earl's routing out people that are living in houses that aren't paying for water, they're not using water, but they're using sewer. He's dealing with overgrown weed problems, he's dealing with a lot of problems that haven't been dealt with in years. And, I mean, no, it's not gonna get solved overnight, and it may still be a more than one person job. Rebecca, he was out today taking pictures of lights, so I'd have to say that, you know, he is actually working on that problem as well.
Excellent.
Unfortunately, I can't ride herd on, so I think that he may be the one for the job. I've joked for a lot of years that code enforcement's been done several ways here, and I won't say how, you know, certain ways, but y'all have heard some of it, but,
Tony had her hand up, and Jerry had his hand up.
you know, we're trying to improve. And I can't say that I would be heartbroken to not have to deal with it anymore, because it's not a lot of fun. It makes a lot of people very unhappy.
Tell me.
So I just wanted to make a comment. Number one, I've heard a lot of positive feedback from the community since Earl has taken over, and I'd like to take this opportunity to say that. In the short amount of time that he's been here, there are people that keep up with this kind of stuff that have made a point to call me and tell me that they are impressed. And so the flip side to that, on the last part, if you've got the right person in the job that's actually going to do their job, then the management of it becomes, you know, just almost like a non-issue, and it doesn't really matter where we put them. But my focus is a flex schedule. I don't care what it is, but not be routine about it and have backup. And the comment on the Bureau Veritas, I think that should be evaluated. However, it's hard to be this as small as we are and allow people the vacation and the time that they need to be off and still have progress. So having Bureau Veritas is bigger than just what it seems on the surface. So thank you.
Yeah, and I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I don't feel it would take 3 people for just some slight changes. There is a lot of inspections that are very simple, extremely simple inspections. Yet we're calling Bureau Veritas and allowing them to come in and get the revenue from it. We spent approximately $24,665, call it reimbursement or whatever, to Bureau Veritas for their inspections. And just as an example, things as simple as a deck even really does not require actual building code inspector for it. Those are very simple to inspect, and when I had mine inspected, the person came out, looked around, for a couple minutes and said, okay, that's good. You followed what you said you were gonna do, and that was it. I mean, so we're just letting that money fly out the door. Because, once again, I am confident there was a lot of those inspections that are not complicated that we could very easily
Hang on,
be
look.
collecting the revenue for.
Yeah, that is not just inspections, that's also plan review. And,
Yeah.
any questions that has to do with that. So it's not just for inspections that's being paid.
Sure, I
Could
understand
be a
that.
combo. I mean, it could be
Yeah,
a.
it's
But
not to
entire
say do
service.
away with Bureau Veritas at all, not at all. And for those other cases where looking at the plan, maybe he's not sure, then he can consult with them. But I'm sure they're charging it more to come down here to actually be on site to do that inspection.
I don't think so. Let's look at the new numbers because.
Yeah, they're charging for the inspection and they're charging for going over the plans.
The flat inspection
Plan
fee was
review.
$76.
Yeah.
So, permit fee with.
Well, I'll tell you, all that stuff adds up
Okay, well, let's
to
figure it
about
out.
25 grand, and that's why I'd like to see the administrator look into that. Because there is no special licensing that I can find that's required by the state to do
To do
this.
inspections?
No.
Rebecca?
And I'm not gonna argue your points, but I think an evaluation is a good idea. I just
Yeah.
really wanted to say I wasn't trying to diss Earl at all.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Oh, no.
I certainly didn't take
I
that
think
to me.
Earl very well is more than capable, and that's not for me to judge anyway. That's for you guys. So I don't have any problem at all with Earl specifically. I've heard good feedback too, like Tony was saying, and it's not that. I think he's probably very capable of doing more than what we've been doing.
Rebecca?
Do we see, is there a line item for Bureau Veritas, specifically expenditure? And
There
then
is,
at
under permits.
17, and then, under permits, okay. So that's the other account, 8,200, that's correct? And then the revenues are gonna be multiple line items under permits, right, okay.
Well, not all of the line items require Bureau Veritas attention.
I do, yes, I'm aware.
The building permits, the building permits, basically. The rest of it is all.
Yeah, there's commercial and residential, which is about
And building
33.5, and then expenditures, we had almost 25.
Okay.
So we made
So it's
that a
not a
little less than
wash.
10 grand, so we're not doing completely turning it, we're getting a little revenue
Yeah.
off of it. But we also have the paper processing, and we pay people to
Sure.
process all of that, so who knows?
Okay, are we done with code compliance and ready to go on to?
No.
Yes, ma'am?
Uniforms.
Uniforms. Hey, every dollar counts. And what does he need $500 for uniforms?
Well, rather, it would be honestly more expensive if he wore a police, an actual, bar, which he still has. But we agreed when we started this that the gun and the badge would be much readily more acceptable if it was worn by somebody that was wearing boots and a western shirt and a cowboy hat. And so therefore, that's what the money, the $500 uniform budget is spent on.
A Stetson and a Carhartt shirt.
I don't know that he got any Carhartts. There was a couple of cinch, but,
Oh, really?
yeah, just, I think
Why
one.
can't I get a job like that?
And I know Earl does not like wearing a cowboy hat.
He does not, but I told him if it got bought, he was having to wear it. I'm having to stay after him, but he is wearing it, so yeah, it's.
He wasn't wearing it at the bank yesterday.
Today he was all in blues.
We're making him wear one?
Yes, I told him if I bought it, he was wearing it, yes. He's wearing the brown
Let him know we're
leather,
on the lookout now.
the brown leather $600 flower tool belts that were bought under Maggie's tenure here, under the Texas
Oh,
Ranger costume.
I remember that.
We're getting all the use out of those that can be
Okay.
gotten.
10-4, good buddy.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I apologize. I'd like to go back to page 16, education. More of the same as previous. I just want to know that y'all feel confident that that's enough
Oh, it's right here.
for training, education for the new code enforcement officer. We didn't spend
Seminar
anything.
Tuition.
Yeah,
He is.
because there's a
already-
lot.
He's already scheduled right now he's having to do it online, the Code Officer 1 class, which is $500. Because they're not having another in-person one until the end of November, and it's in Mesquite anyhow. So he's gonna take the online one here, I think it's before the end of this month. That was $500, and I will get him in the Code Enforcement Officer 2, as soon as he gets done with that one. Not because he has to have it, but because it's good information that he can make use of. I get him that one as soon as possible. But those will be the main things, and I've already paid for the Code Enforcement 1, that he just hasn't taken it yet, because it hasn't.
But it came out of this year's budget.
Yes, it's just, I don't think it's
I don't think it's.
reflected in here
It's
yet.
not.
I'm glad to hear that even though a lot of these requirements for someone that's not of law enforcement background aren't necessary because you have a law enforcement officer's license, I would still like to highly encourage that, as it seems you're trying to do,
Oh, yes.
go ahead and still, he goes through the same thing as if he is not law enforcement.
There's
Not
a
accepted.
lot to be learned.
Yeah.
The basic code enforcement book is about
And
an inch and a half thick, I believe.
that goes back a little bit to what I was talking about him learning to do simple inspections. Those kind of things through the courses he is gonna be able to take. I think, if nothing else, down the road, that we can seriously take a look at that area. If not now.
And his personality is of the type that he will probably be very interested in
Good.
getting involved in that. He's taken an active interest in, we had the big gas leak at the strip center, following up with, the gas company and finding out that the restaurant down there had some leaky, equipment in the kitchen, and coming to me and said, hey, we need to, it says fire marshal in our ordinance, but they've got a leaky fryer or something in there, and it says fire marshal can shut them down, but our fire marshal's retiring, he won't get involved. What do we need to do? Well, we got with the fire department and got their gas tester, and he went down there and checked it, and they've taken care of everything, got it all. I mean, he took the initiative to know that that's what's important, and he's on par for that kind of stuff. We just need to get him.
I did have
That-
my hand up.
Rebecca.
Well,
Sorry.
I mean, I don't wanna go on much more on this, just real quick, curious, do you think you'll be able to get that code enforcement 2 out of the current year budget if he gets through it, before the end of this fiscal year? That'll give him more of a cushion for next year.
I can look
Okay,
today or tomorrow and see when their next offer. The classes are just filling up. I would have sent him to the in-person one in Mesquite if it wasn't full and if they didn't have 5 people already on the waiting list.
Right.
And they wouldn't let me put him on for number 6.
gotcha.
And 2 more of the online ones filled up while I was talking to the woman on the phone about it. And I said, well, just,
High demand.
yeah,
Sure.
And just a question, isn't there a waiting period, I think, of a year before you can actually get that license?
Well, because, if he wasn't a
In
police
training.
officer, he would be a code enforcement officer in training. And he would have to work under another code enforcement officer or
Right?
me. But since he's already a peace officer, it's, for the TDLR, it really doesn't matter to them because
So he doesn't have to wait that 1 year, even though he doesn't have to take the test, you do have plans for him to, right? Okay, that's good. And then, may I also, the education, everything, you feel good about that then, right?
yes.
Okay.
Now we're good for page 18? Parks.
So this is
Yes, ma'am.
25% salary for how many employees? Is it these 4? Sorry,
No, we
no, I'm
have,
sorry. 25% of the salary for,
I can check to see.
I read
make
it
sure,
as
but
one
yes, it's,
employee.
It's all of the public works guys except for, one that's actually split 25% across, the parks, streets, water and wastewater. But one employee split 33% among the 3, which would be,
excluding parks, okay. Okay.
Sherry.
See, that's where I get confused on splitting this out, because we've got 4 splits here, 25% apiece, that's 1 FTE.
No, that's,
That's why I'm asking too, so correct me if I'm wrong.
oh, I'm sorry.
You took a
That is
GPS
one-
down here?
41.
That is 1 FTE. 4 times 25%.
I don't think this
And that's why I'm
represent
bringing it up.
4
I mean, does this
employees?
represent 1 employee? I mean, what is it? Because, once again, with the breakout of 25% times 4, that's 1 FTE.
This is the vehicles, four
That's the vehicles.
Oh,
4,100
okay.
is GPS
thinking that was-
tracking, 25%.
I'm used to looking at the salary stuff. I mean,
I understand.
Seven?
That's why I was asking.
the splits down here, so that
Okay,
split
let's
is
let-
actually on the vehicle. Okay.
normally
explains that.
it is listed in here. I don't know why it's not, to be honest. I can add it to, on
The
the.
split?
We have it on all the other ones.
May I-
Because it's not under wastewater or water either.
It's not under any of them.
Rebecca?
So just again, with the exception of 1 public works employee, this is everyone, it's 25% of everyone, including the director of public works, who we currently don't have. Okay, okay.
And how many positions do we have budgeted for that department total?
It's- well, I can't
Including the
figure out.
1 employee that's a third, a third, a third?
It's 6 employees.
Total is 6, and that's including the director. So 1 of those 6 is the director. 1 of those 6 is 33,
Right.
33, 33, and 4 is 25, 25, 25?
We have a director, and then we have we have 7 field
Full-time.
positions and 2 vacant positions, last I count
I'm
I
sorry,
had.
it's 8,
9,
9.
9 with the
Sorry,
director?
Yeah.
9 and we're 1, and there's 1
Okay,
empty.
so we've got,
When I told, excuse me, I'm sorry, when I spoke with Terry, the director, acting director, who's in charge right now, of Public Works, he don't have a specific employee assigned to parks specifically yet. Whoever, they all do it right now, so we're in the process of realigning that also. So, as far as the numbers are broken down, then it's over, everybody's doing it right now, the entire department's trying to help.
right.
So,
Rebecca?
oh, I'm sorry. Jeez. You looked at me and I think you got the okay.
I'm
Forget,
just curious
sorry.
if it's realistic that 1/4 of the Department of Public Works time is spent in the parks. Just throwing that out there, just for consideration or evaluation when that comes around. Because park has a specific revenue, and I think that revenue could be spent in the park. We've got park projects, and that we don't necessarily need to eat that up with salary for employees that aren't dedicating the time to the park. That money could be used between the fifth reimbursement or the playground or maintenance or maybe the angler project or whatever. We have things going on in the park that I feel like we should be dedicating park revenue to fund.
Sherry?
So, how many FTEs do we have dedicated to the park?
Don't just.
There's no one specifically dedicated.
No,
to
I'm
the
talking
department.
FTE, I'm not talking a specific person. How many FTEs
Should be, I think there's 2, right?
do we need to operate that park?
We don't have, I mean, everybody is split between the 4 departments, so everybody goes through there for whatever. We don't have a definite one or two.
I think it would be a better question for Terry than for,
It's an unrealistic question.
yeah.
I mean, it's an unrealistic, there's no answer to that,
There is no answer.
unfortunately. And let me say why. Because they do the work in the park as it's needed. And not only that, then you've got your seasonal employees, which that's a whole nother level.
But that's separate from here.
It is separate from here, but it's not, I mean, the maintenance of it and stuff, it's like one week it could be 30 hours, another week it could be 60. It depends on how many people decide to defecate in the bathroom. I mean, and spread it all over the walls. I mean, it's like
But
it's,
we have our routine work too.
And then in
Yeah,
the
but
summer
it's-
months.
We
there's
should
more
have an
money.
idea of how many hours are spent
no,
at the park.
I think it's inefficient
On
use
an
of time.
average, you've gotta have an idea.
I can get some answers and break it down.
Yeah, just at least a
Well, I asked a
close
question similar
estimate.
to that, 2 people was the answer that Terry was giving me, that dedicated to ensure that they continue driving through the park to ensure the basic garbage is picked up and the basic maintenance is done on the daily
Yeah,
operations.
the routine
Right.
daily
As
operations.
far as in-depth mowing the lawns and doing the interior maintenance and all that,
Yeah,
I didn't get a breakdown on that, yes.
I just think that when you're checking the trash cans at the park, you're checking the trash cans down the city, I mean, it's like, you've got somebody doing a routine thing.
I understand.
No, you really don't, because what I'm
Don't
trying.
tell me I don't. I do
Okay, all right.
understand.
You don't
please.
understand what I'm saying, because you didn't
Yes,
let
I
me
do.
finish.
I
No,
do.
you didn't.
Go ahead.
Hey,
First.
let her finish, please, without
So,
interrupting her.
because at some point, you start micromanaging yourself to where you're trying to get all this paperwork done, and instead of somebody out doing their job, they have to spend an hour or two a day going, okay, well, from 12 to this, I drove through the park and I did this, and there were 12, I mean, it's like, at the end of the day, I mean, they're leaving at 4 o'clock, so they either have to come in at 3 and finish the paperwork, so that we have these weird little figures that don't matter in the big picture, or you let them do their job and another hour's worth of actual work gets done. So that was my point, is that at some point, the little bitty tiny days and hours, when it's inconsistent, becomes, I mean, what are you gonna do with that data? What does it matter?
Minutia.
I mean, yeah, just,
Number one, you know how many people that you need for your departments. There's no way to know
There's
otherwise.
not a separate park department though, per se.
I understand that, but you still, as a manager, owner, or whatever, should have an idea of how many employees it takes to routinely keep that park running, or any department. We know what it takes in here, so, and I really don't want to turn it into a big blowing up discussion on it, but you should have a good estimate of how many hours routinely, because we mow once a week, or clean the bathrooms every morning, that takes approximately 1 hour. Don't tell me that it's not important, because how would you know how many employees you need otherwise? You wouldn't.
Thank you.
so I think it's important to know the number of employees it takes to
That's all
maintain.
I'm getting at.
Again, let me finish.
Interrupting.
That's, you didn't even let me finish, and you're not gonna agree what I finish with.
Go. I just didn't want to turn it into a big
It
argument.
Can you
wasn't.
hush, please, and let her finish?
Yeah, I wasn't trying to make it an argument. I'm
Okay.
just trying to simply make a statement, is that it is important to know how many hours it takes to run the city on average. And we know that there's more work than people that we have. And so what it matters is that if 1 week we spend 10 hours in the park, and there's always something to do. And so it doesn't matter that we spend it in the park or across the board, because if they're not in the park, they're doing something else. And so how many is spent in the park doesn't really matter, it's part of the city that needs to be maintained. And that's all.
Darcy.
I just have one quick thing. If you find that it's a concern, any of these things that are brought up, there is an app for that, so probably work that out real easy. Then clocking in and out, timing in and out on an app.
Departments, yeah.
So
Yeah, it also
picked up
costs
trash,
money.
I'm doing work for parks. Okay, I'm doing work for water. Okay, now I'm doing work. It's really kind of easy with an app. If we decide it's something that needs to be done.
Okay, you wanna finish up with parks?
Kind of want to go to the bathroom.
You wanna
If
recess?
we can, well, I was gonna suggest we recess after we finish parks, so we've got just
We haven't got much
seasonal,
further to go.
yeah. Can we just do like that real quick?
So we'll recess, you wanna do parks right quick?
We got,
Yeah.
we got
just finish it.
seasonal real quick, and then we'll be done.
Can we just finish parks? Yeah.
Jerry?
Just wondering about the increase over the budget for the salary. Current budget 23.5 and we're at 47,716 year to date.
We had more employees down there this year, and we had a lot more work that had to be done down there. Just a bigger mess, and they were having to stay later to pick up trash and do other things, so, I mean,
It
the
just
park
seems,
needs work all the way around, so I won't even,
yeah, it's twice as
I
much.
mean, the seasonal park needs better management. You know, I mean, I can't be down there during the weekends and
Darcy?
I'm sorry, I missed, page 19, but, if we could just go back for just one thing on, the third line down, 4650. The cell air card, why does the park department need that and why did it go up?
It's for the cameras.
Oh, yeah, that's right, I'm sorry.
Cameras.
Okay,
So-
Agnes Square.
Yep, good enough, thank you, that's it.
Tony?
So in my conversation with David, I kind of talked about him doing the salary survey and when he's looking at our whole overall approach to life in the city of Bandera. I think that the park needs to be treated more as its own deal. Have a manager that really works with the community, maybe recruit some Boy Scouts or something. We need more people walking the park on the weekends and not sitting at the gate all the time, and just have more eyes on the ground and have it more managed, because I know that's been a bone of contention between, do these people fall under the city staff or do they fall under the parks? Well, they really don't fit in either. I mean, as far as a hiring thing, once they're hired, I mean, they work on the weekends, and so, I mean, we don't really have anybody that's full-time on the weekends. So I would like to see somebody, even if it's in the Department of Public Works department, where during the year they work as one thing and then they work as a manager on seasonal with flexing and actually being on the ground with their people when the park's open. And making sure that there's no glass and styrofoam, and they have communication with the marshals, and maybe we have bike patrol or something down there again. But I get lots of complaints about the violations down there, and they don't know what to do. So
Rebecca?
Yeah, I think that, I like to be optimistic and think that if we could maybe put some signage, like campaign for keeping our park clean and communicate better. You mentioned bike patrol. I would love to see a kayak patrol, but without law enforcement, there's no teeth in any of that. And so we end up spending a lot more through our public works department cleaning it up. And then it gets so disgusting. And the people that are there are making it that way, so apparently they don't mind that environment. But we as a community mind that environment. And if you want to be here and you want to use this beautiful piece of nature, I think we just really need to start with a positive campaign and wrap it up with
So
teeth.
Don't Feed the Ducks is not a positive campaign.
Don't Feed the Ducks is a very positive campaign.
It is. It is when you know why you don't feed
Yeah.
the ducks.
Darcy?
And I would like to say, volunteers. We have tons of volunteers in this community. We have wonderful, wonderful people that love to, thank you so much, that love to volunteer, like the Lions Club, and Rotary, and, Boy Scouts, and, some volunteers that don't like to volunteer so much but have to because it's court mandated, like juvenile probation and adult probation, so you can tap into that kind of stuff too, so.
we have had some of those down there.
We could do it, we should do an adopt the park program like we do the adopt the highways, and get these groups, businesses, that way they can have a sign up or something, and they just for 4 weeks in a row, they're responsible for, 4 Saturdays in a row, they're responsible for the park.
And we could recognize them at a city council meeting or something like that.
Yeah.
Get our community
Do so
involved.
many hours, yeah.
Okay,
Anyway,
down the
So,
streets and almost to the end of general fund. Do y'all want to take a short break?
yes, please.
All right, 6:54. Gonna recess, let's be back at 7:10, no, 15-ish. 7:05, we're reconvening this workshop of the City Council of the City of Bandera. We're on page 21, the Streets Department.
So they're showing
Yes, ma'am.
a drop in the salary on this end.
I don't actually know.
The decrease in the salary?
It's how, well, it's how Encode splits each individual employees. It's whatever the first one is. I don't understand it either. I need to call them and find out why. And if there's a drop in the expenses. I'm sorry. Well, that as well, there's not a public works director and hasn't been in a while, so that's also
Oh,
one of the
yeah.
reasons, but I also need to call Encode and find out, why it's not the same for park and streets.
If I may, all of Public Works salaries have gone down this year for some reason, and I don't know why. So the averaging out, as we split it between the different departments, has also made it go down. Darcy?
I just had a question about the cell phone, and I guess I can wait until the end because I've already talked about the marshal's office, but I guess I'll wait to the end to see who all has cell phones, why, and how we can evaluate that a little more.
We have an on-call phone in that department, and we have the public works director has a phone, so there's 2 cell phones in that department.
An on-call phone.
After hours
After
phone,
hours.
so whoever's on
Versus-
call carries that phone with them all weekend.
Okay.
What page are we on?
That's a big
21.
one.
21 still?
Okay.
Am I missing something, or is there no education and training in this department?
In the streets, no.
There's
You'll
no
find,
work- the
you'll find
public
education
works-
over in water and
Okay,
wastewater,
perfect,
because those require license.
gotcha.
Jerry?
But should there be? Considering, well, I don't know if it's, yeah, no. I was gonna say, because we do have certifications that they receive, but not on the streets. That's under utilities.
That's correct.
Water department.
Tony?
So we're doing the whole streets project separate, and that's not in here, right?
That's correct. It's a
So-
capital improvement project. It does not go in the budget.
Okay, and so where, are we still doing maintenance? Where's the maintenance for the streets, like the
It's on
supplies?
22.
That's
Right.
where I had a
Your-
question.
Your street repair materials are on page 21,
21.
under line 518, 2600.
Hmm?
And then
Oh, okay. Okay.
Maintenance is,
the right-of-way maintenance, that is where our right-of-way maintenance fund is being allocated, and we're gonna try diligently this next year to show council, for instance, the
proper
the
accounting.
cut that was made at the Sonic. That is one of those repairs that would have been, come out of the street right-of-way fund, rather than the general street repair fund, which is basically potholes and such. Jerry?
And on the street repair materials, we budgeted 25,000 this year, and we're at 17 and change right now, year to date. We would expect theoretically to see this need decreased,
That's why the budget item is decreased.
considering we've got the street project going on, as long as we continue that. But I don't wanna see us shortchange ourselves either.
Well,
Yeah.
again,
I-
we can always
soon.
move money around as the year goes on. This is just a guesstimate, and when we get to the end, we're gonna find that we're gonna have to move quite a bit of money around because we're short.
Well, the cost of goods is going up tremendously in
Right.
our suppliers and all kinds of stuff,
And-
so.
Christine?
Good point, that's why I was mentioning, do we really wanna decrease that?
Christine?
What's, the 13,000 that's under utilities? For street department?
With streetlights and their utilities, their electric and stuff like that.
Paying their actual, like, the bills down there for the, at the,
Yes.
oh, okay. Okay.
So,
Tony?
I have a question. This, so we don't own all of the streetlights and, I mean, BEC doesn't own all and maintain all of the streetlights in town.
No.
Why is that?
You know,
And how do we fix that?
there
How do we
was-
upgrade?
There was an effort at one point to get with them and work out some sort of agreement, and I really don't know how it just died, but it just died.
I'm sorry, I'm pointing at, we just had this discussion today because streetlights have been out, as y'all are aware.
Yeah.
And our public works people, staff, have been working hard to get breakers here at this place and lights here at this place, and have to order some, and they're getting 3 or 4 lights on at a time. The conversation came up about BEC. What'd you say about the Main Street ordinance? About, oh, that was the parking, sorry. Anyway, we're trying to find out if BEC can take care of all the lights as well, instead of what's down Main Street, right? So, I'll be reaching out to them tomorrow and try to make them contacts.
Thank you.
If y'all have a contact inside, let me know, and we'll try to work that and see if we can get on the same wavelength as them and get updated, if necessary, the right type of lighting installed as well, the energy efficient, that kind of stuff.
Christine?
Thank you, David. Under maintenance, what is the requested budget for row maintenance when there's been nothing there before? Oh, that's right of way?
Yeah, that's our right of way.
Okay,
That is one thing that we had not budgeted before earlier, so it was not clear to council how that this money that we were collecting for this fee
Okay.
is
It's that
being
$3
used.
fee that Darcy
That's
keeps griping about.
$2, ma'am. $2 every month. I mean,
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I've left my water at the
Yes.
new house. I've left it on twice now for 2 days, and
Ooh.
it was a big bill.
that's
Let me just tell
terrible.
you
Let me tell you, I've done that also in the dog pool.
that. It kills me. The tree looks real nice.
Yeah.
Jerry?
Okay, thank you.
I've had some citizens bring up to me about maintenance or upkeep of our roadway, side street right-of-ways, I guess. You know, the grassy areas alongside the road or dirt areas, whatever it may be. As far as mowing and weed eating, I've noticed that we do a little bit, but to actually maintain that stuff, even as far as the highways that are coming, even though that's state highway, it still is the first impression that people are getting when they come into our town, and I think that goes a long ways in perception when people are first pulling in to the city, to have everything manicured, so to speak.
Tony?
Yeah, I would agree with that, but, I mean, this has been a unique year. They're short-staffed, and then we've had a rainy season. It's been a little rough to keep up, and the irony of it is about an hour before this meeting, I got a call asking why our city staff mowed down all of the beautiful lantana, the native lantana, and so that had been there for as long as they could remember. So, you know,
Yeah.
the pros and cons of being
And I would actually be one of those citizens that would complain about that because, you know, here in the city, yes, on Main Street, yeah, we don't want grass growing into the actual street and stuff, but that's also TxDOT property and, you know, what are we allowed to do? But, you know, having the flowers and milkweed and stuff like that, I don't know how much anybody else pays attention. I'm really gonna sound like one of Rebecca's friends,
You know you are.
a tree hugger, and I'm not all my Republican friends. But
There's nobody watching.
I know, nobody cares. But no, it's really important that we do have all the natural grass and the natural flowers and the native stuff because of especially the butterflies that are coming. So please stop mowing
Hummingbirds.
and mowing all your stuff, and the bees, because bees are dying because we don't have enough stuff. So
Christine?
Okay, but, like, I've noticed the last couple years, none of the culvert areas that are running to the park are being mowed anymore. And they used to be weeded and cleaned out, and they're not. And even some of the poles that have tape on them so you don't drive into them are laying over into them because they've fallen down. So why are those corner right-of-way things, and why are the culverts that run to the park not being maintained anymore? And they used to be,
Short stuff.
yeah. But they're
Okay,
a
so-
priority in the rain and our flooding.
I'm gonna hop onto this even though I'm trying to tie it to the budget
I know.
specifically, but
I don't know where it would
it's a
go
bit
in
of a
here.
stretch, but I think it's really critical that the, whoever is mowing gets some cross-training with the riparian and the stormwater runoff, the importance of the vegetation in those culverts, but however, when it comes to, you're at an intersection and you know, at a stop sign and you can't see oncoming traffic, that's a different thing. But again, it's a little bit out of scope of
I just
budget.
don't know where it would fall in here to, like that culvert maintenance. Cause that's a flooding issue on the
Well,
streets.
if there's no vegetation in it, it becomes a flooding and erosion issue. If there's vegetation in it, it slows and sinks the water and helps. So
Except for the tree limbs, they're blocking the culvert.
that's clearing out though, right?
Well, that's part of the maintenance of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Point made. Okay, page 23. Permitting?
So, but that's what I'm gonna, that's it.
Rebecca.
So I just wanna kinda go back to the point where we looked at the revenue on permits, and then we looked at the expense on the contract services with Bureau Veritas, and then all of this would be an additional expense. So we might not be doing as well as we had thought, clearing $10,000 over, with these in-house expenses on that end, so.
Well, this is also for signs and.
Sure.
So this would take into
All of the permitting.
revenue,
Gotcha.
not just the commercial and residential building.
Yes, you are right.
permit, Which is 58,000 right now.
Gotcha.
Jerry?
There's nothing in it, but what is this line item under services, contract services? We're not doing anything with it there. I mean,
I have no idea.
Oh, it's 140 budgeted for.
That is our shredding.
huh?
That's the
Shredding.
shredding.
Okay.
In the permit department?
Across the board in every
It's
department.
just spread out in every
Oh.
department.
Okay.
It's an expenditure, not a revenue?
Yes. There's a shred company that comes and picks up all of our waste paper.
Oh, the paper waste. Oh, I'm shredding.
Yeah, not that, yeah, paper shredding.
Yeah, I'm still on
Darcy?
limbs and trees and
Trees.
stuff.
Darcy?
So are page 24 now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
On contract services, what are we contracting out on permitting?
That's what they just said.
Oh,
That's
Paper
the
shredding.
shredding, the paper,
Okay.
paper shredding.
good. Y'all are giving me a headache.
Been
I
out
can't-
across department.
I can't hear.
All right, we're on 24.
I've got to ask, I'm sorry.
What?
Still on 24. Building maintenance.
Again, it's split.
Spread out.
Spread out.
Distributed.
Again, that's just spreading it out across, we used to have it just under the
Okay,
administrator, and now
all
we're
right.
spreading it out under all the departments. Council's
Okay.
request. All right,
Good.
page, yes.
David, does that work for you?
The building maintenance been spread out across.
Well, and not just on this, but on some of the other items that we've talked about. Does it make more sense to spread it out, or would you rather have it say under administrator and,
It's up to the council, it makes, I mean, as long as we can account for it and I have access to it when we need it, then, you know, that's all that really matters to me. So however y'all wanna form, like, we can put everything under the administrator's budget and I'll just have a $500,000 budget, I guess, however y'all wanna do
yeah?
it.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
No.
Does it matter to you, or is it
No, sir,
easy
it
for
don't-
you
No, so it don't
if
matter,
it's under one number?
it don't matter.
So you know that's what you have there, and you don't have to go and calculate what you
Grab
have?
the calculator.
Right.
Rebecca.
I think that there are some of those line items that are spread out among the different departments. There was a desire to see what the actual spending by department was. For example, maybe it's postage, or some of the things, it's good to see the realistic, if those things are being accounted for properly. Other things, I don't necessarily see the benefit in doing it that way, but there was the desire to have it a uniform method, right? So if we're gonna split some things up among departments, let's just split them all up among departments. So
Yeah, it's confusing to me. It always
Okay,
has been.
that's all I'm getting at, too. It would be for me, and I was wondering if is for you.
But, okay, but then you have cell phones. If you wanna know what department has how many cell phones, then you do it that way. If you wanna know what department, I mean, what else is there?
No, I know what you're saying.
Like postage.
Postage, then you wanna
Xerox,
allocate those to that department if you want that clear picture of actual expenditures. If you don't, then lump them all into one under admin.
Darcy.
But I think we talked about this either at the last budget meeting or the one prior, that, and I think all of us are in agreement with the same thing. It's just that, council can completely change every 2 years, and, to have the treasurer have to change the way it's broken down every 2 years sucks. And so although I would like it a certain way, or we would all desire it to have a certain way, or even our administrator, but to, it possibly change every 2 years, I think is,
Ridiculous.
yeah.
And you lose the consistency in your 18, 19, 19, 20.
Yeah, true.
It's like if you change it every year, it's like you're,
And as a citizen, to
Yeah.
be able to
That's a
look
good
at it.
point.
Right.
Okay.
$25?
Yes, 25, okay. We've got the utilities for, just a little breakout on permitting. Oh, we're in the fire department, I beg your pardon. We pay the fire department's utilities every year, and then they ask us for a $5,000 fee for fire protection, and so we always donate $5,000 to them, or 10,000, or whatever.
Money well spent.
Ma'am?
Money well spent.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it reminds me of the olden days whenever, if you didn't have your little plaque up there, they wouldn't put your fire out. So I guess that is our plaque that we pay for, right?
Okay.
Otherwise, they're not coming next door.
All right, let's get down to the summary, because this is an important piece of this for you folks. If you'll see where we are sitting right now, our year-to-date expenses versus revenue, we are very much to the good by $400,000. We've way underspent what we budgeted. I'm sure COVID has something to do with that. However, if you look at the last line, we are currently $14,041 over our proposed revenue. And if you add in the $130,365 for the master plan, we're $144,406
Second.
short.
May I?
Yes.
We budgeted for 100,000, so this should be just 30,365, correct?
in this one, we budgeted.
Can y'all tell us where we are?
Yeah, I'm
I'll
lost.
ask.
Yeah, no, the last line item on 25, requested budget, that number in parentheses.
Yeah.
So, and the mayor is pointing out that
That
we
we did
needed
not-
to increase the budget for the master plan
530.
by 30,000.
No, we did not budget for the master plan yet in this budget, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
you had
No,
that.
we expensed it out, but we didn't budget it in as a.
Hold on, sorry, where is that?
Page 6.
Thank you. We budgeted. Okay,
Master
hold on.
plan, we requested budget
100,000.
100,000.
Right, but we didn't put it in here as an expense. Look on
It's
page.
under, I'm sorry. I see
She
it
said
under
25.
Oh, there it is, okay,
expenses.
that's on
Right.
page 6.
Because you're not on the one for today that we had sitting on our desk.
What I'm saying is, that's an
I mean,
expense,
yours
we
is
didn't
different.
budget it.
Okay,
We only
These
did
numbers are
budget
the
though
same.
$30,365.
Okay, you're right. Okay, shut up, Suzanne, we're in much better shape than I thought we were.
yeah.
Okay, so $44,406.
There you go.
But what I wanted to tell you is that speaking with our,
Interesting.
Auditor.
It's all the same all the way up to here.
we can simply, at the end of the budget year, as we get approve
I
our
don't have to go
budget,
by the one we had sitting in front of us today when we got here.
We
That's-
That's the only one I have.
we can do a one prior year budget transfer in to cover whatever the budget is short.
Okay,
This is the one
Yes.
they gave you today.
so I would just also point out that potentially we have that
That's
80 or 85,000
That's the
from
number
EDC that we
Right.
can allocate.
Right.
Same year.
But then again, we've also got $400,000 to come up with for the street project. So we have the revenue going back, we have the revenue, both between the utility fund and this fund, we have the revenue.
And this isn't final because it doesn't include.
No, this is not
okay,
final, and
okay.
there'll be other revenues coming in.
And other
Because of the way
expenditures.
our year falls, although our budget technically ends September 30th, we don't get the
That's the one that was
September
in-
revenue or the September expenses all done until October and early November. So in November and December, we will do a final amended budget, and when we get some real numbers closer to the end, y'all tell us how you want to move it around.
Okay.
I don't know line by line what the difference between the two is
Well,
gonna be.
it won't matter
Yeah.
at this point.
Okay, so much for general fund.
What? Why would you sit, may I?
Yes.
Oh, are we done?
Well, general fund was all that was on the agenda.
Oh, okay, okay. So we're gonna come back for another workshop on the remainder?
On the 21st and the 28th, we'll hopefully adopt a new budget. Tony?
Oh,
Can I ask a
shoot.
question? So the revenues for the motel, how do we know what's actually in that fund? Like, what's the carryover?
There's
Where's that?
$92,000 right now in that bank account.
Okay.
This is just for 1 year, and again, that number is not in our work budget. We can't work with that number, that's why it's behind your total number, page 26.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, my gosh.
Yes, Rebecca?
Speaking of September 21,
Mm-hmm.
are we starting at 6 o'clock, our regular meeting time, or are we coming in a half hour early for a budget workshop?
Well, I had that we were coming in at 5:30 because we have a public hearing.
Oh,
We have 3 public hearings.
3 public hearings,
Sorry,
yes, before
So
our,
5:15,
so 5:15.
5:15, 5:30, 5:45, 6 o'clock meeting.
okay.
All within there.
Oh, I have it ending at 6:15. How stupid of me.
I'm gonna be real sick that day.
Let's just put it at 8.
5:15. Okay. Till like 9.
Yeah. That's what I just changed the mine to like 9.
Entertain a motion to adjourn?
I would, Rebecca. Have a second, Jerry, seconds discussion. All in favor of adjourning?
I
All in
feel,
favor, none opposed, at 7:30, the workshop is adjourned.
feel very.